or ready position to go position, we're looking for this. When they're in a digging posture, we're looking a lot at this ankle load. Okay, knees in front of the toes, and so on and so forth. So we've got her kind of tight in this position. We're wanting the hands inside of her body. We don't want them here. We're wanting these palms up. So one problem that we see a lot is the ankle load. The other problem that we see a lot is when people are making the dig, and it's happening probably 60% of our kids, and when I'm going around and watching practices and high school matches, that number is probably close to 80% that I'm seeing, is that when they go to make the dig, the hands come in and then it goes out. I see that an awful lot. The other thing that we see an awful lot is the hands come together right there and then both go to the ball out here, okay? And so we try to get rid of that. That was good. Her head's down, nice and level, okay? And she's pushing through. So that's something that we spend, all right, hold up here, that a lot of time we want there to be as little movement before things happen as possible, because we want your feet on the ground. Once your feet on the ground, and then you can go. Reprogramming, and it really takes the kids that are jumping, it is hundreds and hundreds of reps to get rid of that over a long course of time. And then they're able to do it kind of like what she is, but then when we get into a match situation, they're all over the place. Talking about different movements here, we'll work on trying to be comfortable going to the floor, and so this would be a ball that she's let's do a single knee drive here to each side, okay? Okay. And so we'll work on this move quite a bit, especially in the preseason. So when she is going, she is stepping and to this position, and then we're focusing in on trying to get this hip, What most of these guys are wanting to do when they make that step, they'll take that step and the hip will go that way. And where does the ball go? It goes that way, and we see it all the time in our gyms, don't we? That the balls are going out there. So we want this to be I'll put these. And there's a little bit of an elbow bend, okay? And we spend some time in this posture. How much time do we spend in this posture? It seems like 5 minutes because, time flies when you're having fun. How much time? So we'll get in this posture time for a total of an hour, but and we'll just hang out and get a nice little burn. So you guys stand up. I'm not going to ask you to do that already. You've got to be able to have some strength in this position. And so in 5 minutes, sometimes we'll spend some 10 minutes in this and get a nice little burn, and we'll do that for about an hour there. Go ahead and get back down in that posture. We like the palms up. We like the elbows bent so that we can shoot our arms to where the ball is. What we don't have is we don't have our hands together. Our hands are together early. Are you praying? There you go. It's because then you go and you start doing this to the ball. And we want our hands to meet at the ball rather than the hands coming together here and then swinging to the ball. Okay? The other thing that we want to do is we believe we want our feet on the ground when things happen. Okay? Most players, when they get to us, when balls are being hit, people are off the ground. Their feet are off the ground because they're doing something.
And I think one of the biggest problems protecting the sideline is really being able to get around the ball. And a lot of times players will play a ball to their side and turn this way. And what we're working on is really getting a big step back into the court and shoulders around the ball. That was something Brianna needs to work on. The other thing is she tends to just fall and make this move instead of stepping. So we're working on just a big step, creating a good angle with her platform to get around the ball.
Is that up? You're gonna have to land on your head. Is that a Hawaiian thing that you guys do when you land on your head?
Okay, here's the other problem. You're not stepping up. That's a problem. You're here and then just falling. Either step that way or just move that way. Hey, that was good. That was good.
And a lot of times when we're deciding where we're wanting to attack the ball, I like to do a lot of this. All right, what does things look like when the ball is being contacted, either by the setter or by the hitter? Right? And this is what I'm seeing here. Right? There is no ankle load right here. Right? This happens a lot. Players that are in this posture here, well, when you're in this posture right here, you have to get an ankle load to move to a ball. Okay? This is why the negative steps happen, because they have to get to this right here. Right? And so we're wanting there to be balance. We're wanting there to be ankle load so that when they're going, there's this push off that is happening. So if you think about a sprinter, a 100-yard dash, they're in that starting block. They've got that ankle load so they can go and bust out of this. She's got no ankle load here, and that's her first problem. So when the ball is being hit, she has to get to that. Okay, and oh, my bad. And so the ball's being contacted here. There's no ankle load. She is moving. And now let's see when she finally gets into an ankle load and balanced. Now she's got an ankle load. Now her feet are on the ground. Now she is balanced. And where's the ball? The ball, you can't see it. It's already past this area. So it's almost on her. And that's why she's not able to make this play. Oh, wait a minute. There it is. It's underneath this box. So there's the ball. So it's almost on her, half the distance, and she can't move to the ball until right now. In her first step, she doesn't really get a step. She just has a collapse move because all that other stuff happens.
Actually, at every level, I think we tend to overblock. So what is the point of blocking? We want to stop the ball. We want to score points, right, and get some stuff blocks. We want to stop the ball. We want to channel the ball. But if the attack is such that we really don't need to channel it, that we can trust our defenders in the backcourt to handle it, we're better off staying down. And so that's a decision, or that's part of the education process for your athletes, is knowing when to block, when not to block. When it's better to stay down, trust your backcourt to dig a ball, and then you remove all of that room for error, or not error, but the kind of the fluky balls that go off the hands, they get the wipe off, that it was the only way they possibly could have scored. Okay, so we work quite a bit at really just trying to communicate the situations that we want to stay down. If we've got maybe I'll just grab a ball. Oh, I'll use Anna. So depending on the set, are you going to decide if you're going to block this or not? Yeah, you probably want to block that, right? It's totally in system. It's a good set. Good. Okay. What about this ball? Okay, so that's a little bit of extreme, but thinking about, okay, just because they're taking a swing on a ball, do we really have to block it? What is the advantage of not blocking? What do you guys get to do? What do you get to do? Play defense first, good answer. And then she's probably going to get a real good chance to hit something in system.
And Laurie, what Laurie's saying, I think, is a very important. If the ball is hit on a downward trajectory over the net, you have to block. If it's going up on this trajectory, you don't need to block. So that's why that's the down ball, free ball. How far are they away from the net when they're hitting the ball? And at your levels, if you're coaching high school, lots of balls are hit that way out of system and not a perfect ball set to your power, opposite hitter, middle hitter. So you just need to be, when do you use a block or not use a block? Because most of the time a block can just cause a lot of points.
So all we're doing is hitting a down ball to the passer, and we want the middle. So your goal is to watch the pass. So you're watching the ball, you're picking up the setter, you're picking up the flight of the ball, and then you're finding your hitter. And again, that's the sequence. So you want them watching, engaging through the net, and knowing what's going on the other side of the net. John and I were talking about this morning or last night, I can't remember, but what are the kids looking at on the other side of the net? Sometimes they're just standing there, three hitters, and I don't even know where they are. They just know they're in a three-hitter rotation. I'm like, yeah, your hitter's way over there. What are you doing? Okay, so it's like, okay, now I'm pointing them out. I'm looking where they are, and I can make adjustments. This is great for eye training.
The ability to read the game, to perceive the game, and a couple of the myths that are out there about elite level reading skills are that the best, the really elite athletes have better vision. They do not. They do not have 20/10 vision or 25 vision or 20/0 vision or whatever the best would be. They have no better or no worse vision than anybody else. That's one of the myths. The other is that you're born great at seeing the game. The Michael Jordans and the Kobe Bryants and the Wayne Gretzky's, the great ones who have the ability, and Aaron Rodgers for that matter as the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, they're not born with that ability. That ability is developed over long periods of time, and again, real game, real time situations or opportunities to read those patterns. Some of the realities are that experts recognize and recall those structured patterns very efficiently. The great reader of the game recognize what's happening earlier, and that's why it's so important to be able to read. A great quote I read a few years ago was about Wayne Gretzky as somebody was studying elite athletes, elite readers of the game, and the quote was from an opposing goaltender. As Wayne Gretzky was barreling down the ice on a fast break, maybe it's Wayne and two of his teammates against two or three defenders and the goalie, and all the goalie was thinking was, oh my God, what does Wayne see that I cannot see right now? And that's essentially it. Recognizing the pattern a little sooner than anybody else, and I get a little bit better jump on the ball, and that translates to a lot of points won. I'm guessing that all of you must have had the experience where you see the attacker on the opposing team jump, and the attacker has her hand out, or his hand out, depending on which sex you coach, and you can see very clearly that a tip is coming, and you start calling it out from the bench, and you say tip, 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 tip. Well, you saw it about 5 seconds before your athlete, so how do we help them see it a little sooner? That's the key. It's just shocking at their level, and even sometimes in our gym, how it seems like all they're doing is watching the game through a couple of long paper towel tubes. And, oh yeah, there's the ball, and it's going there, and I got 0 of the cues that I needed to get to be able to read the play better. So that's why you see so many athletes shocked when the tip comes, because all they were looking at was the ball, and they never saw the hand, and then they see the ball go short, and then they know to start pursuing it. Far too late to pick up the play. So that's one of our goals, really. One of my goals is how do I get them to stop watching through a telescope or a set of paper towel tubes. Some of the realities of great reading is that experts can extract minimal information. They don't need every cue, they only need 1 or 2. And once they have one of those 1, maybe 2 cues, then they can know much earlier in the play and much more certainly in the play what is going to happen. I like to think of it as the pattern tells me the probability. And this is all in real time, so every 1/10 of a second that the play develops, I think of it as going from completely wide to completely narrow. It's a process of funneling, or of subtraction rather than addition. At the start of a play, anything can happen when I'm playing volleyball. All possibilities are in play. As soon as I see a couple of things and get a couple cues, and another 1/10 of a second goes by and I get another cue. All of a sudden I've been able to narrow it down, so by the time contact is made by the attacker, I've been able to reduce it down to maybe the 2 most likely scenarios, and I sift out those and play the percentages. I won't always be right, but I will be right a lot of the time. So we need to be able to recognize those patterns better and react about reading the attacker as an example of this process of helping athletes read. And we need to have, as we are observers of volleyball, and as we are blockers and defenders, we need to have a baseline on every hitter that we're going to face. We need to know what is their standard swing, what does their standard approach look like. Can I describe it a little? Does she do something funny with her arms? Does she kick her legs? Things like that. So I have this baseline that is common to many attackers, and then I have something that's called hinky. And our athletes say this word sometimes and laugh at me, but the story is from this. I was reading many years ago. Many of you, I'm sure, have heard about the 10,000-hour theory and how it takes those long hours of mindful practice and dedication and good coaching to get to be an elite at whatever you're trying to do. Play a musical instrument, play a sport, etc. Well, I was reading an article about border agents many years ago. I can't even find it anymore. And they are the people who stand there and wave cars by. And I'll never forget, this article was talking about how if you're a newbie, you've got no clue. You don't know the patterns, but you get to about 8, 9, 10,000 cars have gone by, and they track how many cars go by each agent just to track their experience. You get to about the 10,000th car, and all of a sudden you know when something is off. Something's a little weird about the car. You can't even exactly tell. If I were to ask an agent, I don't know that they don't even know that they could tell you, but they know something is off. That's hinky. That's the thing that jumps out to me when I'm playing defense, is I have a baseline on a hitter, and then I have what's not baseline, what's unusual, what's different about these attackers. Every attacker has a point of hinky. Almost every attacker in college volleyball's hinky is ridiculously early. It is screaming out to the hilltops or to the rafters what their intentions are when they go hinky. Some of the best players, there are first-team All-Americans who have just horrendous hinky for those who know what to look for or what to see. But it surprises a lot of people. So again, we're trying to help our athletes recognize what hinky is. We got to figure out how to help them, where they should be looking, what they should be seeing. I was having a nice lunch today with a great friend and former coach, Bill Neville. I see you there in the back, Nev, and he was talking about the difference between looking and actually seeing, and so that's part of it too, in terms of actual understanding and recognition of the pattern. I can look over in the corner, or I can really see the corner, or see the hitter, and see the hand, and see the elbow, and things like that. Us, or from the athlete on the previous play, and then maybe ask them questions. And so, Jenny, I don't know if you're here, but thank you for taking these really goofy, non-sexy pictures here, but we'll throw them up there anyway. And so you might ask your athlete, okay, what does this mean? Or you might say, hitter, shoulder, what was it doing? Or hitter, elbow, or hitter, hand, depending on what you feel is the appropriate cue for your athletes to look at. For me, it's often the hand, but I'll show you more about that in a minute. So you might ask an athlete, you might stand with an athlete and ask her or him, what does that mean? What's this hitter going to do? And the answer, hopefully, in this, is probably take a hard swing. Then, what's the hitter going to do in this situation? Elbow, hitter, elbow, what was it doing? Or what does this mean? This is the one that athletes don't see when they're watching through paper towel inner tubes. But if they're not watching just the ball, then they will get the early cue that this clearly means some kind of off-speed shot or tip or something like that. This is even goofier, wow. Anyway, but it probably means hinky. To me, it means that I cannot take some kind of nice hard swing where I'm going to be able to extend over my head and hit the ball in front of me and hit it hard somewhere. And then maybe there's this. Maybe the hitter is falling backwards. What does that mean? I'm leaning. There are different things that you can do with your athletes, and of course you all coach at different levels, Ion. Maybe after the play I can describe it with words, but it should just be visually recognition. Oh, leaning back. I could tell you later it was leaning backwards, but right now this player who's falling backwards is not going to be able to attack the ball as they normally would have hoped to.
Okay, so that was the case. I like somebody yelling it, but what did we see? Who was that in right back? What did you see? Okay, even before that, what did you see? How about depth of set? What did you see? Okay, I like that. Okay, so vision is big, and probably the most important cue with vision is depth of the set off the net. So when I ask her what she saw, what I would like is tight set, low tight set, hitter in trouble. Anytime a hitter's in trouble, first thing we think the hitter's gonna do is lift tip. So we would say hitter in trouble, and we run in. And in this drill, we're gonna have hitters in trouble because we have non-setter setting, and we're gonna have sets that aren't located.